What's going on, everyone? My name is John, and with the new Imperial City expansion coming out in the end of August, I have been getting a lot of requests. I've been doing a lot of testing in Imperial City as well. So I feel like the NightBlade, more specifically Magicka NightBlade, is going to be a high-end DPS dealer, and it's going to be used a lot by pretty much everyone. So here's what I have come up with in my build. Overall, so hopefully you guys can learn something from this one. Now, I know there are a lot of variations, but what I chose was pretty effective, and in another video like the one coming shortly, I'm going to show you how this works in action. But for this video, I'm pretty much just going to show you how I built it. So they're going to be two split videos, just so maybe some people want to learn how it's built more than how to use it, because you're like a NightBlade expert already. So, what I've done with this character, let's start off with the attributes. Everything goes into magic because it's a magic NightBlade, of course. And so your first bar, I guess we could go over the items. Now, the two-piece set is the Scoria helmet and shoulders because it drops a meteor doing extra DPS, which brings in a couple extra 1,000 damage. So you're going to want this if possible. If you don't use, or if you don't have it, continue using the martial knowledge set. It's a light set for magic users. And then Torx Pact, you could use this one as well if you don't have a weapon over here. We're going to be using, right now I'm just kind of testing it, but you would want to be using a Torx Pact two-piece or a two-hander. And so you're going to use that one. And then the martial knowledge set as usual for your four-piece that gives additional spells. And your secondary, you're going to want to use a staff, just restoration, mostly because you're going to be healing. That's our second bar. Our rings are Citadel's lights, just because they give the extra spell damage. What I did change it, or the top one, I changed it to reduce spell cost along with the necklace, just because the necklace, it gives you reduced cost of abilities, which you guys will see in a second. So right here, some people might opt to use additional spell damage, which is completely fine as well, but I used reduced magic cost because all our abilities are going to be using magic, and reducing the spell cost is pretty much like unlimited cast for the most part. Alright, so let's go over our first bar, which is either dual wield or sword and shield. For PvP, you're going to want to use a shield just because it brings up your defenses and spell resistance a little bit, and just generally not dying is a good thing. So if you're doing PvE, you might want to try dual wield weapons to increase your spell damage. But if you're doing PvP, I would consider a shield just because your survivability is increased a little bit more. Alright, so let's start off with our abilities. All of these are already morphed, and I assume you have all your passives into everything already. So let's get started. Let's start with our Dark Cloak. Now, this one is under the Shadow ability, and you can cloak yourself for 2.9 seconds and remove damage over time effects. Now, this is going to be your main ability that you use to combo with other abilities, regardless of if you're doing PvP or PvE. Going invisible to combo your abilities and get into position is always good, so you can get ready. Now, this is a very important skill to have. Now, next is Impale. Impale is under your assassination. What it does is throw a magic blade with precision to strike an enemy for 2,000 magic damage, and causes 3% or 300% more damage to targets below 25% health. So let's say in PvE you're killing ads and your teammates are AoEing it down, just throw an Impale out and it should finish them off. And if you're doing it in PvP, generally you want to wind the enemies down and then use your Impale as your final execute. Next is our Lotus Fan. It's also under our assassination. What you're going to want to do with this is, it's pretty much a fan of knives. It's somewhat similar to Steel Tornadoes if you are a stamina based NightBlade, which I'll show you in a little bit, but this is your essential one for your magic abilities, and it does 3,000 magic damage to your targets and 2,000 to nearby enemies over time. So it's your AOE ability, and your next ability is Mass Hysteria, which is under siphoning, I believe. No, actually, hold on. Never mind. It's under Shadow. And what this does is summons a Dark Spirit to terrify up to 3 enemies, causing them to flee in fear for 4.5 seconds. So if you're doing, this is more for PvE, but it's also pretty good for PvP. Generally, if you're doing high-end PvP, most people are going to CC break immediately, so it's not as effective. But the primary reason why you're using this ability is after recovering, your movement speed is, or your enemy's movement speed is reduced by 53%, and it reduces their damage by 15%. So that's amazing, which is why you can go into Shadow Cloak and impale them again. So it's pretty much a combo. It's like Mass Hysteria, Dark Cloak, Impale, and or you could use your ultimate as well. And so that's like, I would say Nightblades are a bit more skillful to use because you're mostly using for combos. But if you can master it, you're going to be very deadly in both PvP and PvP. It's like one of the most high-end classes right now. So our next ability is Concealed Weapon. It's under the Shadow abilities, and you pretty much, this is your single target and slash your enemy for 4,000 magic damage. This is one of your heavier hitting abilities, and attacking with Concealed Weapons while stealth or invisible sets them off balance for 4 seconds. Once again, it's comboed with Dark Cloak to you could just do this regularly for 4,000 damage, or you could stun them in Dark Cloak, so you'd 1 in 5 and stun them as well as doing damage. And while slotted, your movement speed while stealth or invisible is increased by 25%. So this is why Nightblades are very important. I told you in the beginning why Dark Cloak is very important, because it's used for a lot of combos, such as Concealed Weapons, Impale, and all that stuff. So let's go over to our ultimate. I think this one is one of the better ones. However, I'm not completely sure. I'm still doing testing, but Soul Tether, it is under siphoning. And what this does is ravage nearby enemies with the Night Rune, dealing 6,000 magic damage and stunning them for another 4.5 seconds. Affected enemies are also siphoned for, like, you lifesteal, life on hit pretty much for a second while they're nearby. And your allies can affected, like, Soul Leech to steal an additional health. So once again, this is pretty good as stunning. So, like, we have 2 stun abilities, while, like, you have it here. You could fear them and then stun them, pretty much causing them to CC break almost immediately. And when they're CC breaking, that means they can't be attacking. And that means if you're in a group, you could pretty much just continuously stun them, fear them, so they can't attack, and you just pretty much DPS your way to victory. So this is a solid bar that I've been testing out. So let's go over to our second bar. Once again, we're using a restoration staff, because assuming you're playing this with a group of people, you're going to want to heal, because this is kind of like a glass cannon build. Also, what our reduced cost using magic is great as well. So let's start off with our first bar. It's Funnel Health. It is in the siphoning ability. You pretty much steal an enemy's life, dealing 3 or almost 4,000 magic damage and healing you and your allies. So this is pretty much one of your heal abilities. So that should be almost immediate. And Mass Hysteria, we already talked about that, but just in case you missed it, it's your fear ability. So it would cause them to CC break, and then you can just switch over to your 1 bar and then Dark Cloak and Concealed Weapons. So it's kind of a combo. It might be hard to understand, but it's more like Nightblades are generally combo classes, but they do a lot of damage. Alright, next is Crippling Grasp. This ability is under the siphoning, and when you sap an enemy's agility bolster to your own, you reduce their movement speed. So it's kind of like your other abilities, but this is on your second bar. And you have this So every bar has some kind of ability that slows or stuns your enemies, and that's always good. Pretty much immobilizes enemies so you can switch bars real quick and attack them. Now, Refreshing Path, I do believe, is under the Restoration Staff. Well, actually, no, that's Healing Ward. Well, let's just go over Healing Ward real quick. Healing Ward, when you could cast it, it's kind of like this. It just puts a shield over you, and then if you have that up, you can just like fear them and then keep attacking them. You'd have to combo it quite often, but that is pretty much what it's used for. Alright, so let's see. Refreshing Path, what we missed before, is create some shadows dealing 230 damage or magic damage to enemies in an area for a couple of seconds, increasing your movement speed. And it's not really for damage, but it does some, so just like boost up your DPS just a little bit, but it increases your movement speed. That way, if you use like 4, you can combo it with everything and just like get out faster. So that's your escape, and this is more for PvP than anything, but just to have it is a good idea. In PvE, if you're good at getting out of red circles and dodging attacks, you might want to switch it up. But this is more for like your safety thingy, and in PvP this is what's mostly for. So that's my build, and then Veil of Blades or Slow Tether is the first one, and Veil of Blades is my ultimate for my second bar, which pretty much is a protection ring, just because on our second bar we're using a Restoration Staff, and pretty much all of it is heals and shields for your team and yourself. So Veil of Blades grants a protection ring from you and your allies for 30%. That also reduces enemy movement by 70% and deals about 1,000 damage for every 0.5 seconds. Also, your teammates can synergize with this, healing them for over 4 seconds. So this is your healing ability, but mostly for you and your allies. And then your other one is pretty much DPS bar and heal bar. So overall, I hope you enjoyed this build. It is my personal build that I've been testing out, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and let me know. If you have a NightBlade, let me know what your abilities are and how you could switch it out. There are some things that you could switch out if you don't have the Scoria set. I would continue using more adroitness, or if you don't, just like use other things that include spell damage. However, keep in mind that this is a glass cannon build. Your health is extremely low. So what I did for the enchantments is, notice how the top says maximum health at a light armor. You want to change your 3 pieces to health. What that does is increases your health by a lot. So change your helmet, the chest plate, and your legs to health, so you get a more additional survivability. The rest are just like low magic bonuses, but primarily the big ones you want to have are reduce magic at cost of spells, so you can pretty much just cast everything while keeping your magic full at all times. So resource management is very important. But if you got that down, just keep in mind that your bar 1 is your AoE. You have to combo it, so adjusting your bars to your liking is probably good. Like if you want to 1, 2, 3 it, and then that's good. And then keep in mind if your teammates, watch over them, switch over to your second bar and just heal them up and pretty much make sure no one's dead. So that has been my build. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments. Let me know. I will be making other builds for like everything else while I can, but if you enjoyed it, be sure to check it out, and I will see you guys later.